Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today, we're going to be talking about the one and only Zebec network. Now, listen, big news. Zebec is integrating with Algo into its card and payroll products. That means Algo holders can now spend their tokens anywhere MasterCard is accepted and access seamless crypto payroll through Zebec. Huge news just came out a couple of hours ago, and that is what we are talking about. Zebec has been making waves. It has been moving in a lot of ways people didn't expect. Personally, I've always been high on this project ever since I found out about it. I know some people call it a scam. Some people say this, some people say that. Listen, that's just the nature of, humans. They just hate on certain things they either simply do not understand or have a heart for. But look, this project is great. We know it's been making moves over the last couple of weeks, and we know that there's a potential huge XRP partnership coming along the way. Now, for me, anything that happens, let's say with any type of partnerships that's not XRP, let's say with Algorand or a different crypto or a company or whatever it may be, is actually just one step closer to getting partnered with XRP, because XRP is going to be one of the biggest partnerships, right? Especially when talking about pure cryptos, it's like the biggest. And for me, right, any type of partnership Zebec does with any other cryptos or anything is just another thing to the portfolio where you're like, damn, you know what? They are making moves. I like this. They're partnered with this. They're company with this. They're doing this. They're doing this. And you know what? It just looks better, right? It just looks better. So for me, it means we are one step closer to the XRP partnership. Now let's talk about technical analysis. You can see I have some things drawn up from before, and look, right? Let me explain my thought process, because ladies and gentlemen, right, this is very important. We knew that when we had this kind of rejection on the 11th of July, that there were signs and there were warnings that we would go lower, right? We didn't say it's going to crash and go absolutely, to the ground, but we did know there's going to be some type of pullback, because ladies and gentlemen, when we rejected off an area, we rejected off a very huge support and resistance. Okay, so we rejected off the support and resistance, and then we're kind of going sideways, but then we just started to sell off. Now we anticipated, going into this order block, which didn't happen, but we were only like roughly 3 to 4% away. When you take it from the bottom of this wick to pretty much the top of the candle, like a little bit over 3%, but we got the general point, right? We got the general message. We expected a pullback because that is what the technical analysis said. Then, ladies and gentlemen, right, we're talking about how the weekly candle is going to be extremely important. And we got an amazing weekly candle, okay? The reason why it's amazing is because we have these lows over here, right? We have these lows, and then we created higher lows, indicating that the markets are, buying up Zebec around this price, and price is rejecting to go lower, which means it is going to go higher, okay? So very simple, right? Very simple. After that weekly candle closed like that, we expected for this week to be bullish. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It has not disappointed. Monday was an instant pop, right? It was an instant break to the upside. We roughly pumped, let's see, we roughly pumped 36% in that day. We had a very strong pump because, ladies and gentlemen, right, we are looking to be breaking through this nice big rectangular zone, okay? We can see for one day we tried holding, we failed a little bit, we slipped below, but that's not a problem, right? The reason why it's not a problem is because we bounced off this next relevant support here, right? This is also a very big support. It's just not as big as this one. It's not as crucial as this one above, but we just simply ping pong. We kind of broke up. We failed to stay above it. We slipped a little bit below. We ping pong here, and we can see now instantly, right? Today, we are currently above it. Now, I do want to see a candle close above 0.004, okay? This is very important, because if we start selling off, then it most likely means, we are just going to be rejecting off of these areas. And then again, we're going to have to make another attempt. But overall, I expect this week to be bullish, right? Every day doesn't have to be bullish. Every 4 hours doesn't have to be bullish. Every hour doesn't have to be bullish. But at the end of the day, right, what matters is how the weekly closes. So, we are on the Thursday. We still do have a couple of days left, but I do really expect for us to be holding above the 0.004 zone, as, market suggests that we will continue to go up higher and higher. And let's say we do, right? Let's say we do hold it. I do still expect potentially one final, fake out to the downside again of 0.0036, but on the next weekly candle. Okay. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, you have to realize that, yes, even though we did retest on the daily, right? Even though we did technically kind of retest yesterday and today, right? I still expect possibly, depending on how we close, right? Unless we close really high. But if we close something similar like this, I still wouldn't be surprised if Monday or Tuesday was a little bit fake out, one final retest on that weekly candle to then push higher. Look, we knew it was going to be bullish, right? We knew we've seen it before in the past where we have some type of bottom, right? Let me just take my thing right here. Boom, we have some type of bottom, right? And then we have a higher bottom. And then just a few short weeks later, nice pump. Okay, we've seen it, right? We've seen it here. We've seen it here. We have some type of bottom. And then we have a higher bottom. And we see 1, 2, 3 weeks later, we were up a lot. Okay, you could technically nitpick this too, but there's been multiple indications, right? And also it is just simple fundamental stuff when it comes to trading, when it comes to learning crypto. And yeah, even though a lot of coins right now are a little bit, bearish, except for Zebec, I overall expect this week for most coins to be generally pulling back. But I expect a lot of cryptos to have a great next week, including Zebec, because, it just makes sense in the context, okay? It just makes sense in the context. Also on the monthly, right? We retested off of this. So we're looking to be pulling up. Zebec, it might take a little bit of time to accumulate and pump up. By a little bit of time, I mean just a couple of weeks, because you got to remember, we did just have a huge rally practically from mid to late May, right? We had 2-week insane rally. If you really want to count this, then pretty much near the end of April, we started to build up, and we had insane gains. I overall expect the Zebec network to be doing well. I overall expect it to be doing some next level moves. Okay. We can even see Zebec network is currently ranked 148, 373 million market cap, 31 million volume. And we can see the holders have been generally just going up, right? And it's looking good, right? Every other day we go up roughly 150 to 200 holders. I mean, this day we jumped 400 holders. So people are jumping on the wave. Okay, it is not no coincidence. People are seeing the value in this coin. And like I said, we are still yet to be listed on so many exchanges. There's just so much upside to something like Zebec network in terms of partnerships, in terms of exchanges, in terms of the structure, in terms of the market cap, that, and obviously the coin itself and what it provides. But there's just so much upside to this coin. I really don't know how people are hating on it. Guys, I'll show you, if for those that are still here, which is roughly 50% of you, I will show you a terrible coin. Okay, I will show you what a actual terrible coin looks like. Hello Labs. Okay, this has been going down and it has been in hell pretty much, let's see, since 2023, the beginning of 2024. Okay, there was no second big rally. There was no even like mini pump. It was just hell. It's been hell. You want to see a scam? You want to see a terrible project? This is a prime example. Okay, this is a prime example. So you should be confident in Zebec. You should be confident even when it goes down 10-15%, just understanding that the market needs to do what it needs to do in order for us to have the very, very big pumps. But yeah, that is ultimately it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy. I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.